What's going on, everybody? This is dkdynamite, and today what I have for you guys is a no bullshit guide on the main Easter egg here on the Darkest Shore. Yes, this is the DLC 1 Nazi Zombies map for World War II, and I'll be quite honest with you, I was a bit disappointed when I found out there wasn't both a casual and a hardcore side of the main quest here on this map, as we saw within the Final Reich, but I'll be talking more about that in a little bit. For the first step here, we have to turn on the power. So just like the Final Reich, there are two switches required to fully turn on the power, and the first switch is over here inside the submarine pen, there as you can see, and the second switch is going to be located in the artillery bunker. So yes, you do have to open quite a few doors before you can gain access to both of these switches, so be smart with your points and definitely share jolts with your teammates if you are playing on co-op. Now, for the second step, you essentially have to ride all the minecarts and open up the Pack-a-Punch machine. Now, while you don't need to perfectly turn on Pack-a-Punch right before you do the other steps, it is recommended to do so because some of the later steps do require quite a bit of ammo against a lot of boss zombies here on the map. So check out my tutorial on screen or down below in the description on how to activate the Pack-a-Punch machine. But yes, you do have to ride all the minecarts for a later step, so keep that in mind, but we'll go back to that in a couple of minutes. For the third step, it's going to be to build and upgrade the saw weapon. So we only have one wonder weapon here on the Darkest Shore, and it's not the best, but it's definitely fairly useful, and this is the buzzsaw. So I have another video that I just posted the other day talking about how to build and upgrade the buzzsaw wonder weapon here on the Darkest Shore. Check that out on screen or down below in the description. But once you've upgraded the buzzsaw to the ripsaw is when you can proceed with some of the following steps I'm going to be talking about. So for the fourth step, it's going to be to get the corpse head and return it to the human body in the submarine pen. So go to the upper level of the map with your ripsaw where the Pack-a-Punch machine is located. Take note of the upside down body hanging above the cliffside. Use the ripsaw projectile to shoot down the corpse head. And as you can see, it's pretty easy to miss, but once you get it perfectly, the head will fall down. Pick it up and return to the submarine pen and place the head onto the body hanging from the wall. So now when you're in the submarine pen, you'll notice after Dr. Straub talks, you can start collecting souls right in front of this body. So get zombie kills close to the batteries to fill them with souls. Eventually a lockdown takes place and you must survive while turning off the gas pipes to prevent the fire spreading. So a good tip for this is to wait for the fire to stop before using the gas valves, because if you have 3 shields of armor, you could honestly just stand there, turn the valves off right before you die, but it will take away all of your armor and nearly all of your health. So be smart with it. If there's one valve left and you want to just risk it all and just get rid of your fucking armor by trying to turn off the valve, then go ahead and do so. But if you're smart, if you conserve your ammo, if you use shell shock or any of your abilities to hold off the zombies or even throw Jack in the boxes, then you'll be able to successfully wait for the fire to stop spreading and you can then turn off the valves without getting hurt. But yes, this step is known for killing the entire enemy team, and yes, you could of course use self-revives, but it is best to save them for the boss fight, and trust me when I say that. You'll see what I mean in a little bit. But if you've survived the lockdown, then boom, you can move on to the next step, which is to open the ancient door. There is a secret door inside the minecart tunnels. Take the minecart tracks and pay careful attention to the large ammunition shell on the floor. So what you have to do is essentially, as bombers are coming towards you, all you really have to do, if you're not going to shoot the bomb, then just look in the direction of the secret door, and once the bomber explodes in front of you, the door will open and you can then click square to enter this ancient room. But also keep in mind of exactly which track I used to get to the secret door. I put it on screen so you can see, and I put the clip in slow motion just in case you guys missed it. So once you're in the secret room is when you can actually acquire the monk head. So this is actually required for all the later steps here in this Easter egg. So if you've done the lockdown, then you will have been kindly greeted by a big ass Brenner, and once you kill this big ass Brenner is when you can actually place this monk head here on this little pedestal there, as you can see, kind of matching matching the other head that you see on the other side of this room. And once again, this is where you can honestly choose. Do I want to activate the artillery step where I'm going to have to escort a bomber, or do I want to just focus on getting my spines? So, as I said earlier, this is the process that I usually complete the Easter egg in. So before I call in that friendly bomber so I can escort him to the artillery bunker, I usually just focus on getting my spines. So step number 6, which is to shoot down the Stuka bombers with the AA gun. So what you have to do is head outside again and take a seat at an AA gun, shoot down the dive bomber planes, about 10 to be fair, as quickly as possible. Don't wait too long before doing this step, as the Stuka bombers become a real hazard if left too long. And yes, if you try to go do other steps before you shoot down these planes, you're most likely going to lose all of your health, since these planes will shoot the living shit out of you and will probably kill the zombie that you're holding. But one thing I haven't mentioned yet is be sure someone is keeping a zombie. If you're not doing this on solo, then there's no excuse for not having at least one crawler or 2 or 3 zombies walking around on a different side of the map so that the planes don't actually kill them while you're walking them around. But most of these steps, if not all of them, are just not able to be completed if you have zombies spawning in all over the place. You'll get too overwhelmed and end up dying. So make sure you have a zombie held by one of your teammates. So once you have shot down all the planes, it's time to unlock the giant door in the secret room. And as you saw on that door, it looks like you can fit 3 heads in this big ass door. So what that means is you have to find the 3 sons of Nerthus. Now, the first son of Nerthus is very easy to find. All you have to do is hop onto the same AA gun that you just used on the cliff edge above the beach, which you used to shoot down all the planes, and look at this giant rock right in front of you. Just shoot that big ass rock and it should explode, and you'll see a bunch of objects breaking off of the cliff and falling down to the beach area below, aka the spawn. Go back to the beach and you'll see this giant tablet / idol waiting for you. This is the first son of Nerthus. So grab it, go back in the minecart tunnels, go into the secret room, and you can place this son of Nerthus into that giant ass door. Now for the second son of Nerthus, this is a fairly similar step to the one we saw earlier with the buzzsaw to ripsaw upgrade. So you have to collect another charged spine. So just look for a regular zombie. And what I mean by that is just a regular looking soldier with a hat and equipment on his back. Might not be that one, it could be any other zombie you see on the map. You know, it's usually not a pest, but one of the zombies you'll see me kill here on screen. So you might not get it right the first time. You might grab a couple of spines and they're not charged. Keep trying. You'll eventually get a charged zombie spine, and you'll get an indicator on the bottom half of your screen regarding the time in which you have to place this spine into this bucket within the freezer room. So once again, if you want to do the lockdown, then shoot down the planes, then get your spine, you can go ahead and do so. But if you want to do the lockdown, grab a spine, place it, then shoot the planes down, you can also do that as well. Once again, I'm just giving you guys the easiest process possible here within this tutorial. But once you have placed the spine into this bucket, you'll see a friendly zombie appear from below, and what he'll do is he'll dash to the bloody seawater on the beach, or I should say the spawn, and he'll disappear underwater for a couple of seconds. Then he'll return with the second son of Nerthus. You can pick that up and then place it in the giant ass door in the secret room. So this is also quite simple, but just make sure that if someone's watching a zombie, maybe even a group of zombies, you manage which ones you want to keep, which ones you want to use for spines, so on and so forth, just to make sure that you don't fly through rounds too quickly here on the darkest shore. Now for the third son of Nerthus, this one could be a pain in the ass. Now what you essentially have to do is look in 7 to 8 different places for this very particular rock, which is essentially covering the third son of Nerthus. So it could be a little difficult, but I'll show as many locations on screen as possible, and I'll leave more locations down below in the description. So work your way around the outside cliffs of the map using the ripsaw projectile. Shoot what appears to be a bird's nest. They will explode, moving the idol to the next location. Eventually, one of them will drop the son of Nerthus. So, unfortunately, you can't exactly tell which rock or nest it's going to be, but you can tell that this rock / nest looks out of place with the rest of the cliff. It pops out, doesn't look like it belongs, so just keep trying and keep shooting them, and eventually one of them will drop the third son of Nerthus. My honest advice to you guys is don't do this too early. I'm not sure if that will glitch out your fucking game where you don't get a third son of Nerthus. I have had that happen to a couple of friends, so what I would do is just wait until you finish shooting on the planes, get the first and second sons of Nerthus, then go ahead and try acquiring the third one. But once it falls from that mysterious looking rock, pick that up, go to the giant door in the secret room and go ahead and place it, and boom, what's going to happen now is this giant ass door is going to open and you'll be greeted by 3 of the Muellers, or I should say spiders, here on the map. These things are fucking assholes. They will completely take your health down with 2 to 3 hits. You'll get insta down most of the time, so be very careful when you open this door. Make sure you're with somebody so that 3 of them don't just go and attack you. But essentially what you're doing here is you've awakened the fucking beast here on this map. So once the door is open, you can kill the 3 spiders, or you can kill 2 and save one of them. One of the steps coming up is going to be to actually harvest a Mueller, or I should say the spider spine. So if you want to kill 2 and then save 1 and get his spine, that's fine. But if you don't feel comfortable doing that, you can go ahead and kill all 3 and wait for another one to spawn later on during your match. I'm going to call them spiders for now, just to avoid mispronouncing Mueller or Muture, however the fuck you say it. So once you've killed the spiders or saved one, you can move on to actually collecting all the spines necessary for the rest of this Easter egg. So at this point, you're fairly close to being done. You have about 4 full steps left before you get to the final stage, then the boss fight. So what you're going to want to do now is collect the spine from a pest, a Wustling, and a spider. So the order in which you do that doesn't necessarily matter, but due to that glitch that we had with the Wustling, I usually did him last and it worked. But I have had games where I did the Wustling first or second and he just glitched out and wouldn't want to do what he's supposed to do. Not sure if that's fixed yet. I know the glitch where his path would be kind of fucked up is fixed, but I'm not sure if there are any other existing glitches which might affect your progression here in the Easter egg. So for the first one, a pest. You have to sacrifice a pest zombie. So using a charged ripsaw melee kill, collect a yellow colored spine. Once you've done that, it might take 2 or 3 pests before you actually get a charged one, but once you do that, you can return to the small freezer room and you'll be able to summon a friendly pest, a sacrifice pest if you want to call him. And it's the same bucket where you placed that other spine earlier for the second son of Nerthus. So this step could be a little complicated. This is where you definitely need a zombie to be watched by one of your teammates while you do this. You cannot do this bullshit with zombies spawning in. This sacrifice slash friendly pest zombie also has a health bar, so if a bunch of zombies spawn in and kill him, or a Wustling smacks him a couple times, he'll die and you have to, I believe, wait another round before you can place another charged yellow spine into that bucket. So what you gotta do is use ripsaw projectiles to shoot the colored fuse panels and rebound a shot into the path of the zombie, sometimes deflecting a shot off several fuse boxes in one go. Before you guys freak out, while this seems fairly complicated, all you have to do is match exactly what I did here in this gameplay. So the pest has to stand in a very specific spot here on this side of the map, and once you shoot this very specific fuse box, the actual projectile from the ripsaw will bounce perfectly among the fuses in that room and then hit the pest zombie. So do exactly what I did and it will work. There is no other way to do it. There isn't any other tricks that we found as of right now, but the pest has to stand right there and just shoot your ripsaw exactly as I did on that same fuse box, and it'll bounce off all the other fuses in the room. Keep in mind, most of these fuses on the map will be covered with a panel. All you have to do to open them, if they are not open already when you're watching this, is throw a grenade slash semtex at these panels and they will open with one little explosion and all the fuses will be revealed. So as I go through each fuse here on the Darkest Shore, yours might be covered up by a panel, so just throw a grenade right at them and they will open and you can then use them for this step. So Once you've hit the zombie with the projectile at each of these locations, you can now return to the Nerthus sacrificial chamber, and the rolling stone door should lock behind you. But keep in mind, you have to have every teammate that's in your match come into the sacrificial chamber with you in order for that big ass door to lock. This will begin a lockdown process, and a bunch of pests will start piling up in this room. While you do have to kill them, you really want to focus your fire on the friendly or sacrifice pest who is glowing. This is the same zombie that you used earlier for that ricochet step. Now once you kill him, you can pick up his head and place it on the hook hanging from the ceiling, and boom, once you do that, the big stone door will open. And I advise that you leave as fast as possible because zombies will fucking eat your life away here in this room. Now also keep in mind that if you are red screen, if you get hit one more time, you're about to die, and you go and exit, you will die from fall damage when you land on the beach. So try to have a little bit of health when you exit this room if you are being hit. Now, next up, you're going to want to sacrifice a Wustling or a spider, but for the sake of glitches, we're going to focus on the spider, aka the Mueller zombie. So what you have to do is, of course, same as the pest, use a charged ripsaw melee kill to get a spine from the spider. So this could be purple, I believe. What you want to do is either wait for a spider to spawn in on the map. You'll notice when fog rolls in on the darkest shore is when a spider is usually coming towards you. You can either wait for that, or you can have one person hold a zombie while the other 3 or even 2 players go back into the chamber and sit around, run around for like 30 seconds, and you're essentially guaranteed for a spider to spawn in the ancient room just about every time. Just sit in there for a little while and you'll get one to spawn. But the issue with this is, if you want to do that, you have to be very fast with charging at him to get his spine out, because if you're not fast enough, a second one will spawn in and you're essentially promised death at this point. So if you're not fast enough, just exit and go back in later. Just make sure someone is holding the zombie. I cannot stress that out enough. Just about none of these steps are even possible when you have zombies spawning in. It's just way too much going on. You'll get overwhelmed very quickly. So once you've successfully acquired a spine from a spider, and this could take a couple of hits, I would say maybe 4 to 5 charges with that ripsaw. Once you've gotten it, you can go back to the freezer and place its spine into that bucket, just as you did earlier for the pest and for the second son of Nerthus. Now, a friendly spider will spawn and will immediately go to hide. You have to find the friendly spider 3 times in the fog and melee or shoot him. This is quite simple. He'll move each time you do this, and you can use the scream noises to actually locate where he's at. But to break it down even simpler, he'll usually spawn in these 3 spots: in the artillery bunker, either outside of it right by the AA gun, or right inside by the giant cannon, by the pack-a-punch machine, or on the beach near the spawn. You'll see him balled up, hiding, and all you have to do is knife him or shoot him and he will run away. But also keep in mind, enemy spiders are known to spawn during this step, so don't confuse a friendly one for an enemy one. If you see an enemy one, kill it. You don't need it anymore. Kill that fucking guy and boom, move on to looking for your friendly spider. But once you've found your friendly neighborhood spider 3 times, you can now go back to the sacrificial chamber, have all the teammates in the game go right into that room, the stone door will lock, and you'll begin another lockdown process. And this time, what you have to do is kill all the zombies and the spiders that come at you, use shell shock, and there's going to be, of course, one friendly spider in there that you have to focus your fire on, just like the pest lockdown, and shoot him as much as you can. Use your shell shock ability, use your pack-punched ammo, throw your grenades, rocket launchers, everything you got, and once you've killed that friendly spider in the ancient room, his head will drop, and you can grab it and place it on the hook hanging from the ceiling. Now, last but not least, moving on to the Wustling spine. This one's actually a little easier than the spider one, but it of course released broken. So I'll be talking more about this glitch in a separate video, but essentially all you have to do is keep attacking your Wustling with your ripsaw, and once you've gotten a charged spine from him, it might take 2 to 3 attempts, go and place it in the bucket as you did earlier with the other ones, and a friendly / sacrifice Wustling will spawn in, and you now have to escort him to 4 very specific perks in this exact order. If you don't do this order, you'll glitch out the step. If you don't do this order, he'll usually just stand still and be confused, and you have to let the zombies kill him. I'm not sure how much Sledgehammer has fixed this step, but hopefully they fixed it enough. So all you have to do is walk them to these perks. The first one is double tap, known as Cudge Blitz. I think I pronounced it right. It is of course a purple perk. Once he has bought that, you have to carefully walk him into the artillery bunker to Faust Blitz, aka the melee upgrade perk, and you kind of have to shimmy on this wall to avoid him buying the stamina perk. He does have to buy the stamina perk later on, but for some reason they chose this specific path for the Wustling to go on. So you have to avoid that red perk, just keep shooting at the Wustling, looking right at him as you walk backwards as you escort him into the artillery bunker. Once you brought him in the bunker and he's drank the melee perk, you have to walk him back to where you just avoided, which is Stamina Up Laufen Blitz. It is of course a red perk. Once he's bought that, walk straight down here by the cliffside to spawn, aka the beach, so he can buy Quick Revive, known as Leben Blitz, I think I said that right. Once you have this overpowered Wustling on steroids with all these perks, he will jump into a hole in the wall after collecting Quick Revive, and you can now return to the Nerthus Sacrificial Chamber to find and kill the friendly Wustling. So yes, you'll have a bunch of Wustlings spawning in, and while this looks very scary, they will die fairly quickly if you use your Shell Shock, your Free Fire, your grenades, your jacks. Use everything you got. You'll end up getting a max ammo in a little bit. Once you've killed all the Wustlings and the friendly Wustling you saw earlier, you can pick up his head as well and place it on the hook hanging from the ceiling. As you'll see, you have 3 of the 4 heads needed to finish this Easter egg. Now what you want to do is a step that most people probably do before even collecting the spines, but I left this for last just to ensure that you got those tedious and fairly crazy spines out of the way first. So what you want to do is charge the cannon. So go back to the freezer and go right up to this machine, hold square or X, and you can now escort a friendly bomber up to the cannon. So keep in mind, if you have zombies spawning in, they'll usually kill him very quickly. He has terrible health, so make sure that you do this when somebody else is watching a zombie on a different side of the map. Just escort the bomber all the way to the bunker, and boom, the Uberschnalle will then be placed perfectly into this holster, and you can move on to the next step, which is to build the radio. Now there are 2 parts for the radio. The first one is on the floor outside of the bunker entrance near Stamina Up, very easy to do. Now the second piece only spawns in after you shoot down all the planes. Since we did that way earlier in the map, you can go up to the pilot's body hanging from the cliff far from bunker 3, and as you can see in the wreckage, you'll see that radio piece hanging off of that soldier. Use the ripsaw to shoot off the arm of the soldier so that he can drop that radio piece right there. Pick up that radio piece and go and place it right over here so that German destroyer ships can spawn in. So once they've spawned in is when you can go ahead and use this giant ass cannon to destroy them. Now the problem with this step is that you need souls to charge the battery in order for you to have ammo for this giant cannon. This is a step where you really can't hold a zombie unless you know for a fact the battery is full, which means you have 6 shots against these ships, and then you can have somebody else watch a zombie. But let's say you miss these 6 shots, you're gonna have to start a new round and go ahead and collect your souls again before you can really attempt to shoot at these German ships, because to be quite honest, it's almost impossible to get a clearly coordinated shot on these ships while you have Wustlings and bombers attacking you from behind. So let's say you got your battery full, you have your 6 shots, and you're ready to shoot these destroyer ships. People do say you can use the coordinates on the map to your right to actually find out where it's at, but I do a little bit of guessing and checking. So as you can see, I put in these specific coordinates to try to start off and see where I'm really at, my baseline of how far my shot's gonna go. You can move your cannon to the right, up, and down, as well as the left. So if your ship is all the way over there, move the cannon in this specific direction, as you can see, and just play around with how high or low you have to be. I usually start off at -3, work my way up to -8, and just kind of work in that range of numbers to see if I can hit the boat. It's actually very simple to do, but you will have to do this to, I believe, 2 to 3 different German destroyer ships. Also keep in mind, somebody on the Call of Duty Zombies Reddit posted this guide towards destroying all of the German warships. It's not 100% accurate, but definitely helps, and also assisted me in bringing you guys this gameplay. if you are standing right underneath the cannon, you can actually see how much farther to the right or left you have to move, or even high or low, in order to get a nice shot on that destroyer ship. But once you have shot all 3 destroyer ships, you are ready for the final stage here of the main Easter egg. So after doing all 3 rituals for the Pest, Westler, and Spider, you can go back to the freezer and pick up the monk head once again from that place he was sitting at, and return to the sacrificial chamber with your team so that stone door can lock once again for the final lockdown. You can place the monk head on the 4th and final hook that is hanging from the ceiling and just survive the lockdown. It's not too bad. You have a couple spiders, maybe a Wustling or 2, and some bombers. Kill everything you see, and once you do that, Barbossa's Pommel or Pommel will be in the hand of the Nerthus statue. You have to jump up and hold square or X to actually pick it up. This will replace your tactical grenades. So if you had jack-in-the-boxes, you will no longer have them. So keep in mind, this Pommel, I'm going to call it, regenerates after about 15 to 20 seconds of use. So don't feel like you're going to waste it, because it will recharge every time you use it. Now, once you've picked that up, and once your entire team has picked up the Pommel, you can leave this sacrificial chamber and move on to the boss fight. So go back to where you built the radio from earlier. All you have to do is have one player in your game throw a Pommel at it, and this is where you can decide if you are ready for the boss fight. So if you don't have any ammo, go ahead and buy some. Use a max ammo consumable. Make sure you have your perks and your armor, as well as any other equipment you might need. Now, once everyone is ready, and once that Pommel has been thrown at the radio, have everyone in your match hold square so you can all be spawned to the boss fight. Now, the boss fight is fairly straightforward and only consists of 4 phases. You start on the beach, move on to the submarine pen, then the bunkers, and then the beach once again before that cutscene rolls. So during each phase, there are a number of super Muellers or super spiders, and of course the usual zombies. That includes Wustlings, bombers, pests, all that good shit. You'll know it's time to move on to the next phase when the minecart can be used again. At the final beach phase, you'll deal enough damage to the super spiders to actually kill them once and for all. That is the official description of the boss fight here on the Darkest Shore. So my honest advice for you guys, this is a fairly difficult boss compared to any other zombie map I've played. There are people who have done it flawless, there are people who have done it very, very quickly, but for a beginner's team, or even for a casual team like mine, what you really want to do is make sure you have that super shell shock upgrade. And how that works is having these mods on the shell shock itself, and once you have that, you're in luck, because at least when you're focusing your fire on a spider, you can have the zombies around you being killed by your powerful shell shock upgrade using those powerful mods. Now, the way you actually can defeat these spiders is simply by throwing your Pommel at him so that that charged energy field around him sort of damages him while you shoot him with everything you've got. So make sure that everyone on your team, even if it's 2 or 3 people, throw those grenades right at the spider at the same time, dealing maximum damage to him, and then use your shell shock to make sure all the zombies around you just avoid you completely or get killed. Then focus all of your fire, everyone on team focus all of your fire on his head, on his chest, where you see him lighting up. Shoot everything you can at him, and after about a minute or 2, the minecart will become available so you can take it to the next phase here on the map. There are, of course, people who can't even make it past the first or second phase for the matter, so keep in mind you have to be fast. Don't let other spiders come in and kill you, because that will happen. As I said earlier, the longer you wait, the more spiders will spawn in. So, moving on to the second phase, this one is very hectic. This uses the fire mechanism that we saw earlier, where we had to turn off those gas valves during the first lockdown here on the Easter egg. So, for this part, I will honestly say, if you don't have consumables, then make sure you're not bunching up in corners, getting insta-downed. This is honestly why I say save your self-revives. This is the phase you'll probably be using them on. I know people have done it flawlessly and fast, as I said, but for a casual or even a beginner's team, it's going to be an insane part here on the boss fight. This will make you rage as hard as possible, but as I said with the beach phase, make sure that everyone has a Pommel. Like, don't think you can even kill the spiders without the Pommel. I would love to see somebody do a challenge and try, but make sure everybody's throwing those Pommel grenades at the spider. Use your shell shock to avoid any other zombies around you. Focus all your fire on the spider, and if you do that on time, and if you do it fast enough, then you can move on to the next phase within 2 to 3 minutes. But once again, if you're focusing on killing zombies and training, it's not going to work out. The best way to beat this boss is, of course, to avoid the zombies and focus everything you have on the spiders. And how do you avoid zombies if you don't have jack-in-the-boxes anymore? Well, that's where your abilities come in. So I did put an image on screen of the best consumables to use for this boss fight. It's honestly between max ammo, full meter, and instant kill to make sure that you're utilizing everything you have to your best ability and focusing everything on killing those super spiders. Now, once you get to the third phase, which is up by the artillery bunker, also near the AA gun, this is where you have the ability to buy armor again. So once again, it's a bitch that you can't buy armor during the first and second phases when you probably need it the most. So that's why I said get set up before you enter the boss fight. So don't make the mistake I made where you get to phase 3 and start roaming around, looking around and seeing what's available and whatnot, because these super spiders will be waiting for you and could insta-down you right here and there. So once you get to the artillery section of the map, walk slowly with your team, looking around, making sure there aren't zombies behind you, and then once again start throwing your Pommel grenades and focusing all your fire on the spider once again. This boss fight is all about coordination, not necessarily on how good you are as a player, because you can be an amazing player when it comes to training zombies, utilizing your ammo, but for killing that spider, you have to be on point. Every shot has to be coordinated. You have to make sure those Pommel grenades are doing damage to the spider. Don't throw it too far from him. Throw it as close as possible and you will be successful. But moving on to the fourth and final phase. This is back on the beach. It's not that hard. It's not like the phases get harder as you progress. I would honestly say the second phase is the most claustrophobic because of the fire and because of the weird ass corridor you have in there. So for the fourth phase, back on the beach, do the same thing you did earlier. Make sure you avoid those zombies, kill as many as you can, but when you have your shell shock, which is what everybody should be using, use that. Focus all your fire on that damn spider, keep throwing your Pommel grenades, and once you've done it, you'll get that fucking cutscene, baby. The Making History achievement here on the map. So yes, you did of course get an achievement earlier for picking up Barbarossa's Pommel, but that's not the grand achievement for the Darkest Shore. Making history means you beat the Easter egg here on the Darkest Shore and you have avoided the incoming bombs, which will essentially destroy the entire island. So just like the final Reich, the map gets completely destroyed and no one is to be seen again in both that area in Middleburg and this area here on the Darkest Shore. So going back to what I said earlier about how I was a bit disappointed to find out that there weren't both a casual and hardcore side of this main Easter egg. I just felt like on the final Reich, that whole ability to choose what side of the Easter egg you wanted to do was very exclusive and sort of made their Easter egg stand out versus all the other Easter eggs that Treyarch and even Infinity Ward have done in the past 10 plus years. And hopefully in the next couple DLCs we may see the return of that little tradition, I would say, where you can choose if you want to take this casual path with a group of randoms or maybe even a group of friends that aren't that good with doing Easter eggs, so you can potentially get through an entire boss fight on this casual side, or you have the option to choose this hardcore quest where you take that casual Easter egg a couple of steps further by doing a couple of different challenging steps to then earn a second achievement for doing that side of the Easter egg. But on the other hand, I would say it could be a little difficult for such Hammer to sort of create two different endings for a map, as we sort of saw within the final Reich. Claus either dies or Claus survives, and it seems like they stuck with the Claus survives plot of the actual ending for the story and stuck with that throughout the rest of their zombies story. So in the Darkest Shore, we of course know that the island gets bombed at the very end of the Easter egg, so for them to sort of change that up and maybe make it where the island doesn't get bombed in this casual quest and then does get bombed in the hardcore quest could have been a bit challenging story-wise, so that's probably why they didn't bring that little option to choose back here within this map, but maybe in a future DLC we could see the return of that. But other than that, definitely hope you guys enjoyed my tutorial here for the main Easter egg here on the DLC 1 World War II Zombies map. Stay tuned in for more coverage here in the Darkest Shore. Even though there aren't too many side Easter eggs, I could of course bring you guys a tutorial for how to upgrade the Ripsaw, or I should say Pack-a-Punch the Ripsaw here on the map. And after that, I'll be focusing my time on the multiplayer maps as well. Thanks so much for watching. This has been dkdynamite, and have a good night, everyone. Peace.